So what time is it in England and Belgium?
It's 8:15 in the evening here, so I'm guessing 7:15 for you, Barb.
Yep, 7:15.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're where?
Oh, me?
Terry. Terry, you're in Washington?
I'm in Maine.
Maine. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, 2:15 now. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really beautiful sunny day today too, luckily.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Here too. So Dave, since you're the representative from Michigan right now,
Correct.
I'm really curious about what people in Michigan think about people storming the state house with guns and everything.
Crazy.
I didn't go this time. I didn't go this time. I was busy cleaning my guns. It's I've ever experienced anything like this. And I can totally understand both sides. I mean, my second ex-wife was an RN, so I kind of understand the medical stuff. Being on the business side of it, I'm seeing all kinds of just really weird things. But I've got some friends like that are with really, really large construction companies, and they pretty much went to work last week for the most part against the governor's orders because, well, in Michigan, you can imagine only so much you can actually build stuff without expending a bunch more money for ground heaters and different things like that. So we're at huge risk of just losing thousands of companies of every category. So, and most, if you look at it at the county map, the majority of our infections, the majority of our hospitalizations, intubations, and deaths are confined to 4 counties. 3 of them in Southeast Michigan, all around Detroit. I'm next, right near Kent County, which is the next highest county for infections in that, but they've done a great job as far as controlling the illness, let's say. And then you go out beyond that, and it's hit and miss, far and few between. I mean, most counties have no deaths and less than 100 infections out of 83 counties, I think we have. So while we're 3rd in the nation for deaths, it's all Detroit. I mean, so you can imagine, while it's extremely tough there, and I do have friends in Detroit too, everywhere else, we're sitting here like, okay, is that we're going to have a tough time making it to April 15th, and now they're definitely not going to reemerge. With the political wrangling, that we're probably going to see an extension of the stay-at-home order to match the emergency order. So I don't see it getting better anytime soon. Yeah.
My wife works for the state in Washington State, in the Olympia. And they just emailed out some guidelines. They're going to be doing a partial reopening maybe in a week or two. And when they do, it's going to be, you have to have your temperature taken as you're coming in. You have to fill out a questionnaire. You get a little sticker saying, what's your level of exposure? And if you've had any exposure whatsoever, then they're just going to turn you away and go home. But her office building has like, a couple hundred people. If she was to wait outside in line, she's going to catch COVID-19. So she'll probably just stay at home through June. And she thinks it might actually go into June, for her at least, because she just doesn't want to deal with it. But
Yeah, I've had just in the last couple of weeks with having to go into service machines and state facilities and prisons and stuff. The questionnaire I have to fill out every time, temperature taken every. I've got these stickers that I've ever had in my life. You know, yeah, if I could trade those in for a Da Vinci robot prostatectomy, I'd be all set. But it doesn't work that way. Which here's another side note. Rico is finally succumbing to the pressures of the financial strain that this is causing. So Rico initially did a 2-week furlough between now and July. Everybody had to do a two-week furlough. I said, hey, I'm giving you 6 weeks unpaid. And with my medical leave, and they said, hey, you need to do a week. So I thought, I'll position that a week ahead of my surgery. Now they come back and say everybody has to do 5 more, a total of 7. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Well, here's the irony. I'm actually my short-term disability claim, and I'm going to take the furlough, file for Michigan unemployment between what I can max out on unemployment and the $600 federal kicker. I want to make more than if I was working. So I'm going to do that. And then if I need additional short-term disability, I'll kick that in after the 7 weeks.
The healthcare thing totally stresses me out. I'm a total liberal. I'm not going to talk politics, but healthcare, I just really feel like it's so scary. I feel like we're all sort of one pandemic or one losing your job away from being really well covered in terms of our healthcare. And yeah, it's scary to me. I have just a few apartments, and one of my tenants, both she and her husband just lost their jobs with the pandemic, and they have a little girl, and I can help them with their rent, but like, how are they paying for healthcare? And what if they get sick? It's just, I don't know, that just scares me a lot in this country. We just don't have there's no safety net, and or you can't quit your job if you want healthcare,
Right. I know if Maine or any state really, if their Medicaid works anything like Michigan, I have all Medicaid before, and I'll tell you what, that's great coverage. That pays for everything. So, yeah, the scary thing right now with hospitals, I have friends within the hospitals where they've been furloughed, gotten rid of their job. One of them has a master's degree, and she works for the largest hospital in Michigan. They're bleeding cash like you've never seen because there's no care other than COVID related going on. So here, these hospitals, especially like I say, outside of Detroit, hospitals are 95% empty, and there's no money. So it's just killing them. And I'm just hoping that, hey, the next 3 weeks, I can still get in and get my stuff done, and they'll have employees left.
I have a next door neighbor, and she's been home until just this week. She does mammograms for the hospital. Mm-hmm. And before, they were usually about 2 months backlogged, and she's got a waiting list of 1,000 people, and they're just going full steam right now. She's seeing about 100 people a day. But
so she wasn't working for a while doing the mammograms?
They just sent her home and said, sorry, we're not providing that service until the pandemic quieted down. But I guess they decided that it might have been an income stream that they could probably use right about now. So, and maybe a low risk one. So she's not happy about going back to work, but
I don't know what it's like in Belgium, Art, and maybe you can tell us, but in the UK we have National Health Service. So there's private health insurance alongside the National Health Service, but it's more for elective surgeries, or companies might provide health insurance. That means that you might get off a waiting list quicker. Some of the waiting lists for even important surgeries here are notoriously long. But if you have an emergency, there's no question. You show up at the emergency room and they take care of you. I mean, they don't look at ID, they don't look at a passport, they don't look at anything. So we're very lucky in this pandemic in that regard.
Yeah, because I carry like a Belgian national ID, which is basically your health ID. So I do get service, but because I'm retired military, my military health care pays for a lot of this. So I don't, but the costs are ridiculously low because the taxes are super high because they want to cover it. So yeah, and they're loosening up. We just found out kids won't be going back to school this year. To collect their things. So we'll be doing this teaching, hopefully, maybe just for a couple more weeks. We'll see. But yeah, they're loosening up here. The frittery that's right down the corner from my street has been open the last 2 nights with the appropriate, just socially distant line of people waiting to order fries and dinner for their families.
People need their fries.
Right.
In fact, the Belgian government asks people to get fries.
Wow. I like to cook. I enjoy it, but I'm getting sick of it.
Yeah.
Every night for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we struck a balance. I cooked dinner tonight, some chicken, but we had pizza delivery last night, and we still cook like we're cooking for 4. So my wife and I have leftovers for a couple of days. So yeah, we're managing.
Are you, it's just you and your wife, your kids are out of the house?
Yeah, we were on a FaceTime with the girls. They're with their uncle in Texas. They're both just finishing up my youngest is finishing up her freshman year, and our oldest is finishing her junior year. They're doing fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they're together, which makes us happy. And they're with their uncle, who's by himself, which also makes us happy because Susan's got another sister and husband in North Houston, another sister and husband with family in South Houston, and then her mother with a cousin live in Lake Charles. And so the single uncle was probably the best option for them. And they're doing well, so I'm happy.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's been kind of crazy. I got this fancy setup because I like to read to my kids. I wanted to get a listening experience. I dusted off all this little audio equipment I hadn't been using for years.
Looks pretty official.
Yeah, it's like I can set up a podcast, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I bought it when I didn't know very much, but now it's coming in handy.
Terry, is your daughter with you guys? Or?
She is.
Nice.
I don't know if it's nice because, once they're juniors in college, they're independent, and so there's been a little bit of tension there, and I think I'm on the strict side, but like, she's not going to visit friends because I don't trust that people are keeping their distance. So she's kind of hanging out with us every day, and yeah, we agreed that she could go visit her boyfriend for 2 weeks, since we're starting to open a little bit. So she's going to go down there for 2 weeks. Mid-May. It's not really my first choice, but I don't know. She's going to be 21 soon. I don't know how yeah, but she's a good kid and she's figured it out. I think initially it was hard because she just did not want to be home and did not want to be away from her boyfriend and friends. And she's at the end of junior year as well, art, and she's an art major, and like she's just doing all these cool projects, and it all just got shut down, like you can't do ceramics or printmaking from home. So Yeah, but anyway, we found our groove a little bit, and she's leaving in like a week and a half, and it's gonna be nice and calm again here.
Well, I told everybody this last time, but we have 2 sons. So Tate just finished his 2nd year in the UK. So he's here with us in lockdown. And, you know, he's a good kid and he understands why he has to be in lockdown, and it's quite strict here. So nobody's going out to visit their friends. And if they are, you kind of go, why are you doing that? That's crazy. But yeah, we had a few moments over the last week where, you know, he was just really ornery, and we're like, what the heck? And I'm, you know, he's been stuck with his parents as his only company for 5 weeks. You got to give the guy some slack, right? But he's better. He's back with us in the fold this weekend.
I'm kind of curious, how many hours did everyone spend in Zoom conferences this last week?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Let's see.
How many do you have?
Me?
Mhm.
I have at least 6 a day.
I average about 1 a day, sometimes 2.
Oh, really? Wow. I think I just had 2 Zoom meetings this week, each about 2 hours.
Well, 2 hours is a long time.
Yeah. They just drag on. Yeah, and we have to make a decision as a church, because we have so many tenants. We have to make a decision about reopening, because they're coming to us now that the governor has put out the reopening plan for the state. And so we're going to be in Zoom a lot of hours coming up, trying to come up with some policies. So, yeah.
I do an hour a day, then a half an hour for the read aloud. And on Wednesday, we just started this last week, we're doing a project-based thing. So on Wednesday, it's kind of a free day, but I meet with my kids in like pairs, or I got one trio. I only have 15 kids, and each of those is like 20 minutes. So I'm like on from 9 till just before noon, and then I do my half. So it's not too bad.
How are the kids doing?
They're okay, but you know, 8 and 9-year-olds, they're super social. They would much rather be in proximity to one another. So some of them are miserable. Some of them are wishing they, and depending on the family situation too. I've got, some, what do they call kids who are by themselves? Oh my God, only child. I have a couple only child families. I've got a couple of families that, the kid can't catch a quiet place in the house because they got so many other little ones running around. So it's, it covers the gamut. But when we're on, we all get on together at noon. And I think that's when they're probably the happiest, because they can see each other and they can exchange a little bit. I have like a question of the day we always answer and talk about, check up on their assignments, how they're doing. And then after the big group meeting where I just lay everything out for the week, then I meet with smaller groups. And then, again, it's just like a check-in. How you doing? How you doing? And, knowing how much stress is on them for getting work done any worse. And I don't want to, blather on like I would in class. So I try and keep it kind of short so that they can get off and do other things.
We've been having scouts on Zoom, which can last for 1 to 2 hours. But then my niece is on Zoom 3 to 4 hours almost every day, having her classes with her teachers. So it's busy with the Zoom.
She's college or high school?
She's in 6th grade. And I feel like it's college schedule. She's got classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and classes on Tuesday, Thursday.
Wow.
That are different. It's just like college. And she's in 6th grade.
That's every day on 3 or 4 hours?
Every day. They start at 8:30 in the morning. We finish our day at 3:30.
That's brutal.
It's a long day.
I think there might be rules in the Geneva Convention against that.
We break it up. We play do puzzles. We do games. We break it up a bit.
I just read, I think it was yesterday morning, one of the universities here in Michigan is already working on first semester being almost totally online, which, man, and they're reducing tuition and or doing forbearance on student loans. Boy, I mean, most universities, I'm sure, have the cash and the wherewithal to be able to stick it out for a while. But what a change. I mean, the dorms are going to be empty. The campuses are going to be empty. And just everything being online, that's way different. I mean, when you're talking, an enrollment of, 7,500, 9,000 students, and it's going to be ghost town.
Yeah, my daughter got some money back. We got a check from the school this week for part of her meal plan that she wouldn't be able to use, and also for fees. So that was kind of nice. It was like $800 or something unexpected. So yeah, but some of the classes that she can't take, like the ceramics, the things I was talking about, just like went away. And I don't even know what that means for her education, that she doesn't finish. I mean, they're going to count it as finished. What she kind of earned up until spring break will be her grade. As I speak, she's walking, and they're constantly walking around because I'm in the middle. You can say hi.
Hello.
This is Benny. I didn't say too many bad things about you.
I did walk down while you were talking about me, but that's fine. Okay,
Okay,
we're leaving.
all right. Bye. Love you.
Hey, great artwork, by the way. That surf scene,
Oh.
I thought that was a photo at first.
It looks more like a photo in the photo that I posted than
Okay,
in real life, but still, she did a pretty good job.
that's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Thank you, she says.
Very well.
Yeah. We sort of take turns as parents doing stuff with her. It's never really all three of us together.
That third wheel syndrome.
Well, and it feels kind of nice to have the house to yourself once in a while, so when they go for a drive for like an hour, go to the beach or something, I might just stay home and read or play with my cat, whatever.
Now I hear that on the 2020 Olympics, they're going to be doing a few things. Like there used to be an age restriction for some of the sports.
Oh, yeah.
And so they've decided to go ahead and add an additional year of age to the players so that they could qualify. But, I'm thinking about these athletes. They're putting so much forward and putting so much time aside to do this. Some of them just aren't going to be able to handle it financially for another year to do the Olympics.
So are you saying did they postpone it to 2021?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Tokyo, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And also physically, you're at your peak when you sort of work toward your peak for the Olympics, and then you have to sort of, I don't know, work it up again. I think that's physically really difficult.
There's a lot of discussion about whether or not they're going to have to do re-qualifiers or not, or just keep the people locked in, or yeah. It's a lot of juggling happening at the Olympics right now.
That year will make a difference. Some of them would have, been at their peak, this summer. Put it off another year with, training. You never know what's going to happen to your body. Yeah, so I guess it can be that way any year that they go. So it'll be interesting.
I'm wondering about all these businesses in Japan that have been gearing up for the last 4 years for the Olympics. All those hotels being built, and now they're just going to be empty.
They will be.
Yeah, talk about financial impact. Yeah. Mm.
Here in Williamsport, we have the Little League World Series every year.
Oh, yeah.
And just canceled that this week.
Mm.
It will not be happening. And
Thank
they've
you.
already been talking about the financial impact for the area for that, because that's 2 weeks of about millions of people.
That's the
Can't get over the
first
people.
time ever, too.
What would
First
the
time
date
they've ever
be for
canceled the
that?
Little League World Series.
Yes,
When would that have?
but it
when
is
would that
canceled.
have
That's always in August.
been?
Mm.
Oh, okay. So it's quite far out.
I just got word yesterday that a comic book convention that was supposed to be doing in Spokane in June decided to go ahead and cancel. Actually, they postponed it to October, but I got a fishing trip with my brothers and my dad in October that weekend. So I had to, they did give me the option of pushing it to next year, so I don't have to, they don't have to withdraw the fees and I don't have to put anything else out. So, but I've, normally I attend like about a dozen conventions during the summer because that's the prime season. It usually starts right around March and then ends right around August. And all of them just pretty much one by one, they were holding off to see whether or not they should cancel, and then just like in a wave, they all canceled. I have one of my friends, actually I got a number of friends that do the comic book circuit. There's this one fellow, all he does, it's his primary source of income, is fly from town to town to town and sell his artwork at the shows. And that was his income stream. So I don't know what he's doing now. And I know he had 2 little girls that he just he got a couple of twins earlier this year. And another one of my friends, he's fairly lucky. He's got a little bit of an animation background, and he ended up he makes most of his income going to the conventions as well. But he's stuck at home. But one of the people he's actually in with one of the managers of a convention here in Puyallup. And, he was doing some animation work for them earlier, so it's not like he's completely dead in the water. But.
Yeah, people here are complaining about not being able to get even through, there's certain days they're supposed to call for unemployment and, not being able to get through. And I just feel so bad for people who don't have income stream anymore right now. There is unemployment supposedly. I don't know how, and there's this message often that they get, don't worry because it'll be retroactive, but if you need it then, you need it then, and I imagine some people, it feels like I feel like my friends, everybody's okay, pretty much working from home or even furloughed for a little bit, but I feel like it's people who are, working jobs where they're getting hourly wages or, they don't have financial stability, and then this gets pulled. I feel so bad for them. Yeah.
My friend who works as a writer for a big conglomerate here in town, he saw the writing on the wall about 6 months ago, but yeah, they laid him off, or no, they just outright fired him on Monday. He's not coming back, and he had been working there for 12 years. So,
Wow.
but he kind of had a sense that they were shifting the location of all the offices to Chicago, because oddly enough, whenever someone in his little cluster went away or retired, that job position would open up in Chicago and not here. So over the course of 6 months, he went from an office full of 6 of 60 people down to an office full of 10 people. So he was pretty obvious for him.
One of the things that's major for us, obviously, living in the UK, is that the airlines aren't flying, or they're on a very limited schedule. And I'm sure that's a concern for you too, Art. But just when can we even go back to the US?
Yeah, we're our
Don't know.
youngest. Yeah, it's crazy because the Belgian embassy or the U.S. embassy in Brussels keeps emailing us with updates as far as who was flying, and I think as a couple of weeks ago, it was only out of either a airport in Germany, I want to say Frankfurt, or Amsterdam. Brussels, there was no Belgian airline or nothing out of Belgium flying back to the States.
Wow.
Right now, we're trying to see if, when our youngest is done, if there's a possibility we might be able to get her back here for a few weeks. But her older sister's gonna telework, I think, for the Air Force. She interned last summer in San Antonio, and they couple-year deal, and they said, well, when you come back, we'll have you telework. So I think that's what she's gonna.
Oh, that's good.
So there's that. And then if we can't fly our youngest here, I know Susan's eager to go see the girls, but I'm kind of happy to just I'll stay on lockdown for a little while longer till things truly settle down, because I'm half expecting that second wave to come through, and I don't want to be caught out there if it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, and for us, our situation, my parents are all in the US of a certain age. If I even wanted to get there, I couldn't just fly and see them. I feel like I would definitely have to isolate for 7 to 14 days to make sure
Yeah, that too.
I'm on the way. So and I have family in upstate New York and in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we bought a property in Charlotte, or near Lake Norman.
Okay.
And that was going to be the retirement plan. You know, part of the year there, part of the year here, rent it if we couldn't be there. How do you do that if you can't get on an airplane? So yeah, we never. This was not one of the scenarios.
You know, we put down on paper, if this happens, if we have a middle of a pandemic, what are we going to do? I got a teacher friend who is, her job is in Okinawa, but she was in California attending to her elderly mother when the pandemic hit, and she just got back to Japan maybe within the last week. And so in the ensuing weeks and months, she's had to have people, do things on her behalf, because she's retiring this year, and she still plans to retire, but she had, this 7-8 weeks of, not being able to be there to actually, do things. And so it's been, I can't imagine trying to do something, a significant life event, in the middle of this. It's crazy, giving birth, getting married, what have you. It's, yeah.
Actually, my niece just gave birth like 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and no problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she lives in out in the middle of nowhere in Oregon, southeastern Oregon. So I don't even think there are any cases of the virus there in her town. So yeah, and then she's kind of good now, because when you first have your baby, you just kind of nest in your home, and you figure out their schedule, and you don't go out. So it's kind of working okay for them, which is really good. Yeah. Yeah.
Terry, weren't you working on selling one or more of your rentals recently?
Oh, we had a camp. Yeah, a little camp on a lake it's a pond officially, but about 45 minutes from Portland. And we just sold it actually right before this one started at the end of January. Yeah. And it's nice, because it's nice to have a little, it's nice not to have to worry about that. Although sometimes I think, gosh, I'd love to drive up and go take the kayaks and, hang out at the lake. It would be really calm and peaceful. So I missed that, but yeah, it's also nice to have that little financial cushion. My husband's so worried about his job, and it's fine. He's an appraiser, and his business has been really busy, actually, weirdly, during this time. Well, more for refinance.
Right.
People want loans. Yeah. Not hardly any people selling, mostly refinance, but anyway, so he's been worried. I'm like, yeah, we just sold the camp. We have a little cushion that we wouldn't normally have. So yeah, it was good timing.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I work as a freelancer and have since '85, and so I started this policy a long time ago that I take 25% of my income and I put it in a bank account, and I just keep it there to pay taxes at the end of the year. So I got a bit of a buffer to work me through this dry spell.
That's very disciplined.
Mm-hmm. You'd have to be.
It's just a survival skill.
Yeah.
I went to work for the government. They never run out of money.
Yeah, they just print more.
Never say never.
Yeah. Not in these days.
Well,
No, I do think about it from time to time, because I know, I served 20 years and I'm getting a pension, but I know, the pension is great. I love it. I'll take it. I don't know that I necessarily deserve it, but the country says, you do, so I'll accept it. And if they decide at a later time I don't deserve as much as I'm getting, I understand that as well, because, it's just all this stuff is done by us. It can be undone by us as well. So it'd be nice if we could just put a pause button on all this financial stuff while we try and work through this health thing. But
well, I was impressed by some of Mark's recent sharings of artwork. His mermaid.
Yeah, that's artists do the stupidest things.
Yeah, well, I'm going to follow your lead. Maybe I can sell this. I've even autographed it. I did my own mermaid. Maybe it could be a little better, but this is pretty good for me. Art's used to it because we used to draw a lot when we were in our Japanese language class. So, yeah, I might put this on eBay. I don't know how I just start the bidding, but yeah.
You should start an Etsy account. I think you can.
Yeah, I think I might.
The little double smiley faces are what really sell it for me.
It kind of draws you right to it. So yeah.
do you do mermen?
What's that?
You do mer-dudes or mermen?
I'm a little afraid to do a mer-dude.
Another one.
So they give you a list of verbal prompts for you to follow whenever for each day. Like May 4th is going to be Star Wars because May the 4th. Yeah. And but the one I've drawn the one for May 5th, and the theme is royalty. So this is what I have to. Let's see. What's the Star Wars one? Oh yeah, here's the one I did for Star Wars.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, you'll see these on Facebook. They'll be popping up. But
Thank you.
You're welcome.
there's also in October, there's this thing called Inktober, and everyone does a little horror themed cartoon. Or it all started with this one guy saying that he was doing so much digital art, he wanted to get back and doing brush artwork. And so he was encouraging people to, show their drawings and do one a day. And so now there are a whole bunch of different drawing games that have popped up. The most recent one that came up during the pandemic is that people would put up 6 panels and say, give me 6 characters from pop culture, either from the movies or from anime or what have you, and I'll draw my version of those. So those have been popping up a lot on my streams, which is pretty entertaining.
Mark, are you a full-time artist?
Yeah,
Illustrator? That's
I drop
amazing.
pictures all day long. Well, I try to. Let's see. I do a lot of whiteboard videos where there's a hand drawing something in the background while there's narration going over the top. So that kept me busy pretty much for about 4 years solid. Then I do what's called graphic facilitation, where you have like a meeting or event, and you'll have the speaker up there, and I'm off to the side, and I'm capturing what they're saying on a big mural or something like that.
Oh, very cool.
And then when I've drawn for everything, packaging, books. In '97, if you had a Microsoft book from the running series, I did all the chapter illustrations for all those books back then.
So how do you market yourself? How do you get jobs? Like the whiteboard on the internet thing. Is that like, sounds like a YouTube channel thing?
Actually, a lot of it is by word of mouth. Actually, social media has really helped me out, because it used to be, back before the internet, I would make these postcards, and I think I actually have some over here. There we go. So I would mail out these postcards about once a year, once every 6 months.
Okay. The
And,
Living Dead.
Great
So
movie.
The Return of the Living Dead line, that's that one. Let's see. What's this one here? This one, I went with a noir themed one. And it was just a way of letting the clients know that I was still in business and hadn't, decided to sell insurance or something.
Yeah, plus it says that's cool.
And but now, once social media came along and emails, I could send out something quick that way. That's when I started drawing cartoon reviews of movies.
Right, yeah.
And I send those out about once a week. And that was mainly to keep my clients informed of what I was doing without it being a news. You remember those email newsletters that just everybody was sending out? Yeah, it's a little bit more palatable when it's a cartoon. So, and I post something on Facebook, like my first whiteboard video. I did a little tiny snippet, and then I posted that on Facebook. One of my clients saw that. I had an art rep at that time, and she saw it, and someone had mentioned to her, hey, do any of your artists do a whiteboard? Says, oh, here's a sample. And then when I did that project, I posted it on Facebook, and then someone would see that and say, oh, it's mainly word of mouth. I used to do a lot of mailings and advertise in what were portfolio directories. Like, a portfolio directory is just a collection of various illustrators that would pay to be inside this book, and this book would be mailed out to various agencies.
Right.
But then along came the internet, and that pretty much killed this. So now there are the equivalent on websites that people go to.
You sell your work through like royalty-free image sites?
Oh God, no!
Sorry.
I steal them off from his Facebook page, so.
I get about 25%. I would say about. It used to be that I got about 20% of my income from residuals from licensing things. Like if I did a sun, the way it works is you don't actually sell, when you create a piece of artwork and you sell it to somebody, you're not selling the rights to that piece of artwork to somebody. You retain the rights to the artwork so that you can repackage it as prints or stock illustration.
They're licensing it from you.
Yeah, basically all they're doing is when they buy the original, they bought the right to be a curator of your artwork, but nothing else. So you still have the licensing rights to sell those images on everything else. So I did this little smiley face sun, and it first showed up in the Chelan County tourism brochure. And it was an 8-page fold, but it was one of several other images. And the first time that went up, you also determine how much something's worth by quantity. So this was a run of 2 million, and it was for a period of a year, and it was going to be national. And when they decided to redo that brochure the next year, the reuse fee was 25% of the original fee. And then they got a lot of positive feedback on that sun, and so they wanted to use it in other ads. So I got residuals, and they say, oh, we want to use it now on a billboard. Ooh, I love billboards. Billboards are big money, you know, because a typical billboard campaign is 10 billboards in a city for a time span of 30 days. And that means you're covering about 2 million people. That's a fair amount of exposure. So if I was doing that illustration from scratch, I would get between 8,000 and 10,000. But since it was pre-existing, I get about 35% of that. So, and these aren't figures written in stone or anything. You kind of have to negotiate all the way. But yeah, if you're an artist, when I was first starting out, I did a lot of clip art, and it just stabs me in my heart every time I see something that I did for $150, and then it's being used on an Elmer Leonard novel. I'm kind of, oh my God, I could have gotten 12 grand for that. You know, so it's just, But
has any of your sun illustrations shown up on CBS Sunday Morning? I love that show.
Oh, me too. Good news.
Yeah.
It hasn't. I'm trying to think of. I mentioned the Microsoft books because that's probably about the only thing where you might have seen some of my stuff. A lot of the stuff I do is totally schlock, you know. Maps, blueprints, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I've drawn so many maps. I had this one client. They handled the promotion for the various architects to show off the various housing developments that they were doing. This was during the mid-90s real estate market, which was really booming back then. And they had this thing in Seattle called the MAME Awards. And so all these different architectural firms would show off their promotional materials for their various housing developments and get prizes. But the thing was that there were only 2 agencies in town that was actually developing these materials for them. And I was the artist for one of those agencies, so I had to come up with 4 different styles of drawing floor plans, which are basically identical, but make them look different. So, oh my God, what a nightmare.
I would just choose different colors.
Pattern?
Yes. and line weights, colors and line weights. But you had to make sure that the palettes were not, you had to be very careful on choosing the palette of colors so that they wouldn't match the other palette of colors and still have a cool, warm range. And then they also had to match their corporate colors, which is a nightmare in itself because most corporate colors are just, you know, I don't know who comes up with them, but it wasn't a designer most of the time. So yeah, my career has been a lot of interesting doodles. So.
It's encouraging for the mother of an art student to hear that somebody's making money from their art.
What's
You're
really hilarious is in college, I was really into pottery and ceramics.
Hmm.
And I almost thought about quitting, becoming a graphic artist and doing ceramics. But I was so young that at the time I thought, I really don't want to be sitting behind a table with my wares out in front of me in a different location every week, trying to peddle them. And that's the only future I could really see for that. Meanwhile, here I am, 30 odd years later at comic book conventions, sitting behind a table with my wares in front of me. Well, tell your daughter to go for it. Just go for the ceramics.
Go for the ceramics, huh?
You see the coolest people though at those Comic Cons.
Oh, it is a lot of fun
Hmm.
to go to those.
Best place for people watching, it's got to be.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. My Facebook feed during Comic-Con, when I go to the conventions, I try to take as many pictures of cosplayers as possible.
Hmm.
Do any of you guys have Flickr accounts?
No.
I'll have to put. You do?
But I've forgotten the password. It's been so long since I used it.
Flickr is a place where you can store photos and pictures online. It costs like $24 a year, but it's basically a cloud service for all your electronic photos. And that way, computer with all your digital photos of your entire family story. My brother lost 2 years of his family because his hard drive crashed out on him. So, yeah, I back all my stuff up to that, but I have a couple of folders in there just of convention people in cosplays. I'll post a link so you guys can go and enjoy that.
My Japanese niece does, I guess it's called cosplay.
Yes.
And it's just so unusual. Like, she spends a lot of money on the costumes and the wigs, and she puts in colored
X, yeah.
contacts. Yeah. And she looks like she's kind of nice, little bit, quiet, shy girl. And then in cosplay, she looks like this fantasy, slightly sexualized. It's so weird. I would hate my daughter to look like that. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's the way to do Halloween all year long.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's okay. I have a couple of friends here who are, I'm in with the local theater, and a couple of the folks who do the theater with me are cosplayers. They'll do, the base theater will have events around some of the bigger movies, the Marvel movies, the Star Wars, and they'll have some kind of events around it, and she's always there in some kind of costume, any superhero. She dresses up as Wonder Woman. She loves Darth Vader. She's got, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
Before COVID hit, me and a bunch of my friends, we were doing posters for the midnight shows at a local theater. And I did the poster for The Shining, and this gal showed up with this fantastic costume.
That was cool. I saw that.
What is that?
That is the rug, the carpet design from the hallway when Danny's taking the big wheel down the hall.
Oh.
And so I used that as the background for my poster.
You really have to know the movie to be able to.
Oh yeah, it's total geek culture. I'm looking on my phone to find a really good cosplay costume. And then people will do family themes, like here's a family dressed up like Winnie the Pooh characters. And the elaborateness, I know they spend so much time making them look absolutely perfect.
It's amazing.
So what happened to Denise today?
She was maybe going to be late.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, because our my wife's family has been doing a Sunday Zoom. We've been playing games the last few Sundays, and so that's going to be a regular thing. So yeah, we might be done by this time on a Sunday, but 9. But we start around 6 or 7, I think. So yeah, Saturdays are going to be better for me if we keep doing this, which I hope we do because I'm having fun. Barb, where's Martin? Barb, your husband?
And is I'm not sure. He's
in the house.
he's here. He's in
Yeah,
the
okay. No, because for some reason I thought he might have been in Mexico. He posted something about Mexico or Mexico City recently. I think I saw on his Instagram. I don't know.
He might have done his he worked for HSBC, the bank.
Yeah.
And his last posting was with them in Mexico City. But he left Mexico City about a year ago in March, and he officially retired at the beginning of April.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So, yeah, so
okay.
we're,
It was a.
go ahead.
I know. I guess it just must have been a post in retrospect.
It might have been, and he's still on the Latin American board.
Okay.
So he's still linked in with Latin America, and of which Mexico is the biggest country for HSBC. So right now, physically, he is either outside power washing or playing cricket with Tate. Because it's summer and we play cricket in England.
Just 2 people can do that? I guess one's got the bat and the other one's got the ball.
Yeah, they take turns bowling and hitting, and yeah, they've got some nets rigged up, and Tate, if nobody will bowl to him, then Tate's got a bowling machine, so he can go and load the bowling machine, hit 12 balls, and then run around and pick them up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Japanese word for a retired husband is? A slang?
I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
It's sodai gomi. Sodai gomi is the, like the large garbage that you put on the side of the curb. It's like always there. You don't want it around. You need to get rid of it.
Now, is there a specific kanji for that?
Well, dai must be big.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like sodai. Dai must be oki.
Gomi is probably katakana.
And gomi is the regular gomi. I don't know what is it katakana?
I think it's going to be.
Katakana for gomi? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know what so comes from. Yeah.
Yeah, as my mother-in-law says, she goes, I married him for better or for worse, but not for lunch.
Yeah, there's some value to being separated during the day.
Yeah, we don't mind. This whole lockdown thing sort of happened at a good time for us, because we've spent the last 25 plus years moving around the world, and sometimes not always living in the same place 100% of the time with each other, depending on what was happening with the boys and their schooling and things. So we were quite looking forward to being at our house in the UK and just being able to be here and enjoy it. So that's good. But you know what? We're getting a lot of enjoyment.
Yeah, it's intense.
So yeah. So timing wise for us, lockdown you were saying earlier, Terry, we're in a fortunate position.
So are we.
So I've been trying to refresh my Japanese. So every morning I go in and I redraw the alphabets, and I see how many I can do from memory for my hiragana and katakana.
Yeah.
And
what is that? What is that? Is that a computer screen you're
this is an iPad.
Oh, it's your iPad.
Yeah, and there's an application called Procreate that I draw on, and what it does, it remembers all of my strokes. So I'm just showing you the animation version of the file that I use for practicing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so cool.
So do you do artwork on your iPad as well as like with paper and pencil and brush?
Oh yeah, I've been making the transition over. I got off. I was headhunted for this really great job up in Seattle, and I would have commuted up for it, but they wanted a graphic facilitator, but they didn't want someone who did things traditionally. They wanted only digital, and I didn't have any digital representation. And I'm kind of going, oh man, that would have been a great job. So I've been meaning to get one of these iPads and start drawing on it. And so I went out and picked this up about 6 months ago, and all of the mermaid things I've been drawing have been pretty much on it. I could show you real quickly.
Maybe I need an iPad.
iPads these things are great.
It might look a little better, David.
Right.
Digital ink, yeah.
So let's see, I'll do a little time lapse. Here's a little drawing I did early on during the whole COVID thing.
It looks like Audrey.
Right.
Is that Audrey?
Remask. Okay.
No, this is the egg from Alien.
Oh, okay.
But
Or Audrey too, sorry.
let's see. Oh, I'll show you this one. Let's see. Where's the button?
Kim, who's feeding you?
That's my niece.
Oh, that's so cute.
So this is
She was making zucchini chips.
This
Oh,
is the
that's
mermaid drawing that I posted for today. So I did initial rough sketch.
Oh, that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
I like it. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mine wouldn't take that long.
It sure has a rustic, simple, feel to it, definitely.
A little more natural. Hey, Terry, because some of us tried to rehash this on the last meeting, let's test your memory. Take us down to the late night beach party with the wine.
I
yes.
wasn't there.
You were there with us, right?
No. Here's what's really funny, and I don't know if people remember this. I think, Barb, were you the one who was sick that night? Somebody was sick that night.
Right.
And Eric and I had bought the wine, remember? And we brought it. And then somebody was sick and I stayed back. Was it Ruth? I can't remember.
I think it was Ruth, and I also stayed back.
I don't remember this.
Yeah. And so all of you guys went and you drank the wine, and Brother Pat.
Oh, he came to the room and he was asking around, where is everybody?
Yes.
And I went, at the beach? Oh my God, I've never seen him so mad. Oh,
Mark us out, man.
So then, do you remember though? He goes, everybody but Terry, who stayed in and was taking care of so and so. But I was out drinking, and I was like, I was the one.
what about wine?
And I would have been drinking. But yeah, I remember that very well.
Oh.
I know.
Oh yeah, you should have seen his face. Oh.
Well, we saw it at the beach.
At school. Oh, boy.
Now, that was the evening. We had gone down to the beach earlier that day, right? I remember that. Now, was that on the same trip that was at Beppu during the hot springs, or was that a later thing?
Oh, the beach wouldn't have been Beppu. The beach
No.
would have been more likely Kagoshima.
Hiroshima, yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah.
So was that the trip that we went bowling?
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that either. Oh my
You
God.
don't remember bowling?
No, bowling,
No.
I think, was Miyazaki.
Okay.
It was Rocky. How many times did we get together? I remember Beppu and I remember Kagoshima.
Well, we got
And-
together for Christmas.
Well, Miyazaki was Christmas, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's when we went bowling. Let's see, we went to the trip Was the animal farm and the cactus,
That's Miyazaki.
that was Miyazaki?
I think so.
Because wasn't that the summertime though when we did that? If we had Chris, did we go to Miyazaki twice then?
Well, they have like a cactus, and they have like this whole complex by the ocean. Was it by the ocean?
Yeah, because we went to the temple. Remember this?
Oh, Aoshima. Yeah, yeah.
Across
You
the
walk
palace
out to the island. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's Miyazaki. Maybe we went. You came twice.
Maybe the beach was in Miyazaki then, if you had all the info to go and
Oh
buy
yeah,
the
there. Oh, you got the picture.
That's Christmas.
The beach
That's
was
Christmas.
the beach was 100% Kagoshima because remember, Barb, I met you and Eric. I got there first, and we went to the wine shop and bought, or the wine vending machine.
I don't remember that at all.
I love those machines. I was buying beer on the cruise ship on our school trip.
So at Miyazaki, let me get this right. Miyazaki, we went to, well, which trip was it that we went to the War Memorial? The big, tall tower thing where a different stone from every prefecture was placed.
Oh,
Because that was also when we went to the terracotta statues, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness.
gosh.
I was taking a picture of the horse and the horseman, and you took a picture of me taking the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have pictures of us at this very large memorial where a different stone from every prefecture or town was sent to create this thing.
Yeah.
And Brother Pat thought it was very important that we go check this place out.
Uh-huh.
And every time we got together, it was always on Kyushu. We never went to Honshu or anything, right?
No.
That's right. It was always on.
Always on cue.
And why did they make us wear our uniforms? I
You
just,
never did.
well,
You didn't.
I hated my uniform so much. It was.
Oh, I did too, but they were really adamant in Izumi. You have to wear your uniform.
Yeah.
And
We're high school students. That's what high school students did.
So one of my worst memory, I don't know if I told this story last time, but we had to wear the uniform all the time. And if and I was at an all-girls school, and if they showed up at school and a teacher had seen them out of school, even at a weekend, without their uniform on, they were in huge trouble. So I remember one day going into homeroom or whatever in the morning, and these two girls were called up to the front of the classroom, and it must have been sort of midway through the year, so I understood more than I did at the beginning, but read the absolute riot act by this male teacher, and he hit them over the head with books.
Oh.
I couldn't take it. I ran out of the room, went to the bathroom sobbing. I'm like, that's not right. They can't do that to them. And it was horrible. But I was at a particularly strict school. So man, I got a little bit of leeway, but it was horrible. I was walking to school one day with a whole group of girls, and it was raining. So we were carrying umbrellas. And the only umbrella I had, it was the beginning of the school year, was light blue. Well, that was not acceptable. It had to be.
oh, really?
So
even the umbrella?
Wow.
Yeah. You hear this teacher from behind going, "Rawr, who's got the blue umbrella?" And I knew enough Japanese to know, and I'm like turned around, and he sort of had the wind taken out of his sails. He's like, oh, okay. But it was so strict that when you tied your hair back, when it got long below shoulder length, you'd have to tie it to ponytails or braid it. And you had to use black elastic. And I thought, well, that's stupid. I'm not using black elastic. So I used yellow.
Yeah.
And I got in trouble for that.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
The only violator. Awesome.
Any chance to be an individual, even the little tiniest thing like an elastic was just not given. Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah.
Oh.
So
I
strict.
got a lot of flack because I wouldn't cut my hair really short. What they call the bozu haircut.
Yeah.
I just, no, I gotta have it long. I had just for the last 5 years, I had been wearing this monstrous head brace for braces that not only went around but over my head, and I grew my hair long to cover it up for years, and I was very uncomfortable not having longer hair. But
Cut it? You didn't cut it?
No, I did not as short as they wanted it to. I mean, if you look at any of the photos, I still had fairly, very.
Yeah, yours is long.
Yeah.
You did have your hair longer, Mark.
Yeah, I didn't cut it.
Pretty sure I didn't get a cut while I was there. I don't think they knew how to cut my hair.
I remember,
They didn't
I
say
remember that, Art. I remember you saying, I'm not going, they don't know how to cut my hair. And you took a strand of hair and you went like that.
Curl, baby. Hey, curls. Wow. They're not tight.
I remember my first host family, my host mother was very old fashioned. She was the second wife of my host father. He had children with his first wife and she'd never had children. So I was like her first and only child. And like I was supposed to be, everything was very prescriptive in terms of my behavior. Like when I left the house, I should, of course you say, itekimasu, and she says itirashai or whatever. But I was a really like, energetic kid. So I would like wave to her from the street and, like sayonara, or like just smiling and laughing. So I got to school one day and my teacher pulled me aside, my English teacher, because he's the only one that could communicate with me initially, and said, your host mother talked to me and she wants me to talk to you about how you should depart the house. And you are to say, itekimasu, she is to say iterashai, you both bow and you're quiet and you turn and you just walk away. No turning back, no yelling from the street. And I was like, this is so effed up. I knew it. But I was like young and what are you going to do? I was like, okay. But, like, I could tell you some crazy, well, I'm sure we all could, right? But I had some crazy things happen to me that year that are just kind of surreal now when I look back and I think, oh my God. And at the time it was surreal, but it was like, okay, in the context of this culture and this experience, it's kind of normal. But, when I look back.
I don't think you were here last time when I was telling the story of how I would habitually go out and get lost just so I could meet new people and drive home, and how much that drove my whichever host family I had up the wall. They were just happy to see me get off the bus coming back home. So I can't imagine.
Yeah, telling you how to speak. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Funny families. I told you my one host's sister ended up becoming really famous. Did I tell you this?
No, what happened?
Okay, so the family was the Kono family, totally kooky family. And the father, I think the father had some like Yakuza kind of connections. The mother had red hair, dyed red. She was very voluptuous actually. And she had a hair salon in her house. She was very much like a kyoiku mama for her two daughters. And so the one daughter went to a very good university, and then she went to France for a little bit, came back, and she became a newscaster. Kono Keiko was her name. And then she wrote a book about life in France, and she was kind of in a few little like a drama kind of thing at night, or and then she ended up marrying Takanohana. That's right, Takanohana.
Yeah.
And yeah, she and then she gave up her career, of course, because it's such a traditional kind of role, the wife of a sumo wrestler. And then, in fact, recently he got into some trouble with the law that I heard of, and they're divorced now, which is kind of a,
Oh, that's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So she, I'm on her Instagram page, and it's kind of fun to see her life. She's got this very luxurious life, and I'm, jetting off here and there. And, but yeah, my little touch with fame in Japan.
Yeah, his stable got in big trouble, like money wise or something, with how they were handling the funds with the different wrestlers and that. It was big news there.
Was it?
Yes.
And was he at the center of that?
Yeah. Not willingly at first, but he just got sucked into all of it that was going on. So yeah, that was bad news for him.
I think I watch more sumo than I do any other sport right now.
Same.
Wow.
Yeah, NHK, the Grand Sumo highlights.
Yep. I try not to say anything because I know you're always probably just behind me watching it. So that's weird watching without any audience, though.
Oh, that last
one wrestling like that.
So you know that they're postponing the tournament until later this month in hopes that they can get a crowd in.
Yeah, they need.
It's the first time they've ever done that.
Yep.
My husband's been following the cases of the virus in Tokyo specifically. I think he just told me, I don't know, actually the numbers are pretty low.
They are.
Considering Tokyo is so densely populated, I'm wondering.
We had an exchange student years back, and she's living in Tokyo now. She's not allowed to go anywhere. Both her and her husband have health issues, so they're just staying at home. The city's on lockdown.
I have
But she told me
friends who are living in Tokyo right now. One is a friend that I met over there in high school, and he's a baker near one of the train stations. His business hasn't slowed. He's one of several. It's not his business. He just works there, but the bakery hasn't slowed down. He's got 2 daughters. One's at university, and she's pretty much locked down there. But his other daughter is just, starting high school. But she hasn't been keeping in the house. She's been pretty much going out every day. And but that was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know whether or not they've cracked down farther on her or not. But yeah, with the schools shutting down, what are poor kids to do? The houses are so small in Tokyo.
No, and they don't have yards. A lot of them in Tokyo, nobody has an outdoor space.
And I know that they shut down the cherry viewing this year. So.
But they started all that pretty late compared to the rest of the world, it feels like.
Yeah.
that's what Yuko said.
I wonder too, because in Japan there is the habit of wearing masks. I don't understand why the mask wearing didn't get to be more of a vital kind of requirement. It feels like that's been instrumental in Asian countries keeping it down a little bit. I just feel like here a lot of people are resisting it, or like when I go out, lots of people aren't wearing masks, surprisingly now.
The Costco here, you can't get in without a mask.
Oh, really?
And my friends in Tokyo, they both got masks in the mail from the government.
Oh, interesting.
And my friend Goro, he went out and finally managed to get a mask at the store, only because it hadn't come in the mail when it was supposed to. And as soon as he got home, there was the mask waiting for him in the mail.
I mean, if I can keep my distance, I'd rather not. Only because I fogged up my glasses. Well, that's kind of superficial. But if I can keep my distance, I'm happy not to. But when there's an American base that we do most of our shopping at, and now it's mandatory to have it when you're inside the shop. And when you go through the gate, there's 2 security guards. One guard's American. They'll ask you the questions about being exposed to it, how have you been feeling, that kind of stuff. And the other guard checks your ID. But now it's mandatory. I have to wear it when I go check mail. But on the international basis where I work and do some shopping, they're doing the mandatory spacing, but they haven't made the mask mandatory. So the mask mandate is coming from the U.S. military side, which is a directive coming down from DOD, which I fall under. But the international base I work on, they're just doing a mandatory, which are following the Belgian law, which is just to do the distancing. So I'm kind of in a mixed bag. I just, I know when I have to and when I don't. And if I don't have to, I'd rather not. But I understand the importance of it. Obviously and the culture behind it. And I'll do it if I must. But if I don't have to, I'd rather not. It's just too encumbersome. But
one of my friends is a cosplayer, and she made me and my wife a nice one. So.
Show us.
Oh, I will get.
All the old ladies at my church.
In Pennsylvania, we all have to have a mask when you leave your house. And when I go to work, I have to have a mask. My husband has to wear a mask, and he's all by himself in a room, and he has to wear a mask.
Oh, really?
How about when you drive a car?
Hour days, he's wearing a mask, and he's got glasses, and it is difficult.
Yeah.
We have a mask in the car. We have it by the door. That's Pennsylvania law or rule.
You can save your glasses. You take and figure eight those the elastics so that the top goes under your ear. Works every time.
Wait, you twist the
Yep. So it turns a figure eight so that the top part of your mask goes under your ear.
Oh, okay.
Comes back out, comes onto the bottom.
Oh, okay.
You can also take a piece of cardboard and cut notches on it, and attach the mask to the piece of cardboard or plastic behind your ears so it takes it off. Or get a mask like this, which does a full wrap around to the back and lets your ears go.
Okay.
But yeah, this is nice. It's got a little wire up here, and it's got a little pocket on the side so I could slide in a filter if I need to.
I wonder if we'll get rid of the handshake and go to maybe elbow bumps or foot touches or maybe even bowing. Yeah, no, that's bowing.
Oh man, I'm going to miss hugs. I love hugging people. I want this to be over so I can wrap my arms around some people. That's not supposed to sound pervy now, but
well, to a school teacher, we're very touchy about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You're touchy to being touched.
Without being touched, yes. Well, sensitive, I'm sorry. Sensitive to that, not touchy.
Yeah. Well, I'm Italian. I hug people. So I guess that's going to have to change for a while. That's all.
And in Europe, everybody kisses.
They do.
I don't know if Belgium is 2 kisses or 3 kisses. I think the
Netherlands. Single kiss, but it's men, women, everybody. Everybody, it's bonjour and they touch cheeks.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. In Turkey, the men kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gone.
I'm a hugger too. My patients want to hug me, and we can't.
Yeah.
Hugs from afar.
Well, you think about the difference between Tokyo and like Italy. I mean, Italians are huggers and kissers and big extended families, and in Tokyo you're bowing and you're wearing your face masks. I mean, culturally, I think certain countries are better off in a way right now. Yeah.
I'm really kind of curious to see how much mask culture is going to carry over into the United States, because I know it was so prevalent in Japan. There's even a terminology for people who now feel uncomfortable without wearing a mask.
Oh.
It's a syndrome where people won't go into public without wearing a mask. So, but I can't remember the name of it. My Japanese has gotten so terrible. I've forgotten so much of it.
You both, brother.
Well, that's where, when I jumped on that class Zoom meeting of mine, I told them a couple times, you got to slow down. Moto Yukuri Kudasai, and they'd all kind of laugh, and then they'd slow down. Some of them had the most fluent English. I'm like, guys, and seriously? They're like, well, your Japanese is still pretty okay. I said, I've forgotten so much of it. But it's strange. The more they kept talking, the more I started to understand them a little bit. And then words would just come back. I might say something and I'd like what did I just say? Oh, man, that made sense, But
I love going to Hawaii because when you're in Hawaii, there's such a large Japanese population. Suddenly it was coming back to me.
Yeah.
And even my wife, who all she does is watch anime with me, got her addicted. Anyway, and her Japanese is improving significantly.
I remember when I came back from the year abroad and I was at a Rotary meeting in my town, and somebody asked the question, well, from a 1 to 10, what would you give yourself for your ability in Japanese? And I was like, I'm a 10, so now I think back, I'm like, oh my God, I was so far from a 10. But I said, I'm a 10 because if I can make myself understood, and I can probably understand most things, and I work with people to understand them. So, but definitely I wasn't a 10, and I'm far from that now. Even though I'm married to a Japanese guy, we hardly use Japanese.
Really?
Yeah, we have always used it when we wanted to say things that we didn't want other people to hear. Including our daughter, which, we didn't speak, he didn't speak Japanese to her. We didn't. So sadly, she doesn't speak Japanese. But yeah, he even, it's very interesting because a lot of times he'll say, sometimes this conversation works better in English than in Japanese. Like fighting, he thinks works better in English than Japanese. Things like that.
Did you fight with him in Japanese?
Pardon?
Fight with him in Japanese?
No, fighting works better in English.
I know that. I'm asking, but is that your opinion or his opinion? About fighting being
I am better when I can be more eloquent. Like when I can get to my Japanese isn't good enough to be that. No, I can't fight in Japanese. Yeah.
I had a host mother. When she got angry, oh my God, she sounded like an angry alley cat. She could curse people out and make them melt into the sidewalk. Just,
That's kind of unusual.
Oh yeah, it was. Her husband was a garage a mechanic. He owned a garage and did a lot of repairs. So it's a little bit more of a blue collar family.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
At least that host family. I went through 4 different host families because I was supposed to stay with one, but somewhere along the line, she decided she didn't want to keep being married to him. So they got a divorce and kept it a secret from me. And so when that was getting hot and heavy, I got shuffled. I said, oh, Mark, it's time for you to go to your next host family. I went, what? I got another host family? And I ended up going to 4 different host families.
I had 4 too. That was planned, 3 months each.
Yeah.
Okay. And I only had 2.
Wow. And were they both good families, Kim?
They were wonderful families. I was supposed to have 3, but the third family couldn't keep me for some reason, so I went back to the first family.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed them very much. I've been back to visit them. My host father has passed away.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Now my oldest brother was able to go see my first host father in Japan when he was in the Navy. His service took him there. Then my sister went to Japan for a year as a model. That didn't go very well because the Japanese model system or and the entertainment industry, the way of handling their talent didn't jive with what she thought should be the way. And then my youngest brother, he went and spent a year in Japan during college. But and then my parents went over. One of the reasons I went to Japan is because we had a Japanese host student stay with us named Yuki Okada. And so my parents, about, I think it was 20 years ago, went back over and got to meet her and her family and tour around where I was and see things. Mm-hmm. Have any of you guys gone back, or have your family members gone back and said?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't remember if I went back to Kumamoto. I saw my host mother from my first family when I was on active duty. I was at a base north of Tokyo, and I got in touch with her. She was in town, and so me and a couple of my buddies drove down. We met her, hung out, and did lunch and stuff. That was really cool. But I think that was about the extent of it. And then I ran in, yeah, short of that, I mean, the only other encounters I had were meeting Barb on Mount Fuji once, and then running into Terry after she met a guy that I flew with. And that was about it. And I've not gotten back in touch with any of them. I think about them pretty often, but Japanese is not good enough to go find them on Facebook and stuff.
I was fortunate. My husband's brother married a Japanese girl. So we've been back with family. I've gone with her twice. We stayed for 2 weeks the first time and went back with my entire family and stayed for another month. And we toured up and down north and south. We took the train back and forth, up and down, and we had a wonderful time. And my niece, she does speak both English and Japanese. Her family and her mom goes back to Kyoto every year. I don't know what she's going to do this year. They're scheduled to go at the end of the month, but I don't know that she'll get to go. But she's the oldest daughter, my sister-in-law, and she goes back to stay with her mom and give her sister a break from taking care of her mom. But I don't know if she'll get to go this year because of COVID. And then my niece is in Korea right now, South Korea. I think I mentioned that last time also. But she graduated from Smith College and got a job there to learn Korean, in addition to knowing Japanese. So she's very fluent in many things. It's pretty cool.
It is, knowing another language. No, I remember a trip to Fukuoka when I was on active duty, but we were just stopping through as a gas and go. Other than that, I remember flying over Kagoshima, seeing the volcano. That was always fun to see. Flying over Oshima. Yeah, just all the flying I got to do around Japan as, after having had been there. Going to a couple of snow festivals up in Sapporo and skiing down near, no, I never went to Nagano. I can't remember what the name of the place was. There were ski resorts north of Tokyo and things like that. So, I mean, the one tour I had to mainland Japan and then 2 tours to Okinawa gave me a lot of time to, stay in touch with the Japanese culture, which I absolutely love, but I never really got to practice the language because I was always hanging around with Americans and, get myself in trouble off base and then also taking me to other places in Asia. So, but that was a good set of years there.
Some of the students that I went to school with have come to the States, and they stayed with me when I was younger.
That's awesome.
The one came twice, and I visited her when we were over there also. And the one exchange student we visited her family. She lives on an island on the southwest part of Japan. They still have no COVID on her island that she was raised on. There's none there. We've been to that island. Her father had a beef restaurant, and he was so proud to share the beef and the seafood, and we ate way too much. But she's doing good. It was fun to be there and to see all that. My kids had a blast when they were there because they were towheads. The Japanese wanted to touch them. And they were befriended by many little young people on the trains. It was a cool trip. And my youngest son enjoyed that travel so much. And then he's also just out of the Marines a little bit, but he travels, and that's in his blood, just like it was in mine.
I only had my first host family, my host mother, 2 brothers, and 1 or 2 of the girlfriends came over and visited us. I'm going to say probably about 1982, I think it was. I rented a Suburban, went and picked them up at Chicago O'Hare. They spent a couple days at my parents' house in Muskegon, then came up to our cottages where this modular is at now, in Greenville. And then I took them to the amusement park, Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. We went to Niagara Falls, and then brought them back through Canada. Yeah, that was a fun trip, but I'm saving every penny now. I got to get back to Kumamoto. I mean, with as much contact as I've had with, classmates and family over there,
They'll love it.
it's gonna be more than a week.
Oh,
My kids remember me, but I'm gonna be gone for a while.
we did it for a month and it was great. A month is a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And we bought the bus pass or the train pass for a 3-week train, and we're able to go on the bullet train up north. My son wanted to go to Akita, which I had to laugh. And that's as far north as we went. And then back to Beppu, because that's where I was from. And I had to laugh. My host families were fighting over me on who should host us and who should keep us. And my classmates wanted me to be there. So they were back and forth. My son I had told my husband he had to take a suit to Japan with us. And he goes, we were on our third week, and he goes, I haven't worn this suit yet. Why did I bring a suit? I said, trust me, when we get to Beppu and you're with my host families, you will need that suit. He was very glad he had it because he did it. Because the host families I lived with were all physicians, and you had to be dressed just so. My son, the oldest at the time, lost our passports. We actually let him wear the backpack that one day when we were with my host family, and he sat the backpack down.
Oh no.
Passports were in it. Thank God we were the only American group there, and they found us. We were very fortunate.
Also in Japan, which
Very
is
fortunate.
in all those countries. So, oh my goodness.
If that had happened here in the States, that wouldn't have been so fortunate.
Now, I don't know how it was for you guys, but I was sort of like a status symbol in my little town of Izumi. And every Rotary member got me for like a weekend to do they would take me on a special outing or something.
Yeah.
I had a lot of it.
Dave and I were lost in the urbanity of Kumamoto City. We were just little small minnows in a big pond.
Yeah, we kind of mingled with the town folk.
But were there, I mean, even in Miyazaki, I think there were probably a handful of foreigners when I was there. It was pretty, we were still pretty much, stars, I think, for that.
I mean, Kumamoto's huge compared to, for where everybody else was. And I thought, we drew attention, but I don't think we were like the talk of the town by any stretch of the imagination. I do remember seeing one other African-American, or presumably African-American, tall black guy. He was like a basketball player tall. So he kind of stood out. But then, I don't know, there was Dave, and then there was Philip Pip, the Australian girl. You remember many other foreign?
Not really.
But I think there was just so many people in Kumamoto. Yeah, wherever we were, we garnered attention, but it wasn't like, a talk of the town kind of thing, getting passed around, that kind of stuff. Just kind of causing a ripple wherever we went, I guess.
Yeah, we could see the eyes turning towards us as we were walking down the mall with Shimatori, Kamatori. Yeah, that was easy. I could see over their heads and.
Yeah, well, you're like 6'2", 6'3"?
Nah, just over 6.
Oh, okay. Taller than me. So.
The Navy would come into Beppu. The submarines would come in, and they came in twice a year when I was there. And I was asked to go and help the Navy soldiers as they went into Beppu, and I was asked to help speak for them. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
would you guys like to do this again next month?
Next month is June or May? The end of this month or in June?
This is May now.
Yeah, this is May now, so I was thinking June.
Okay.
Set it up.
Sure,
Yeah.
set it up.
Make it happen, Captain.
Okay, I figured
set it-
once a month is good enough for us. I mean, it's been 40 years, so we can ease back into this.
Mhm. Yeah,
Remind me to tell you next time about my story about the boy who, in my neighborhood, who was the son of a ramen yasan's son.
Oh, I want to hear this now.
It's a good, yeah, I'll tell you next time.
Okay.
Okay, that's a cliffhanger there.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice seeing you guys.
Nice
Good
to
to
see you.
Take care, stay healthy.
Dave, good luck to you.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Good
that.
luck. I hope everything goes well and you have a good recovery.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
When are you going underneath the knife again?
I have a date with a robot on May 20th.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's
We
a
need to
Wednesday.
interview that day then.
Okay, hopefully you won't be glassy-eyed when you're back on here.
You know, there will be differences, I'm sure. Well, I know you make it.
We
early
won't
enough,
see 'em.
I'll see. Nah, if there's complications, I probably won't need to get up and use the bathroom if I'm sitting here because they're gonna have me hooked up to a bag.
No, that's not going to happen. It's all going to be good.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm glass half full on it. You know, it could always be worse. You know,
Mhm.
so my fingers are crossed for that's all of it, and I'll be done. You know, so we'll see.
I hope so. So anyway, good luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you
We'll
very
talk
much.
to you in June.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
Yes.